right to the shortstop off contact. Hayward was headed home. He's in a rundown, and he avoided the tag, and all hands are safe.
Welcome back to the Rundown Podcast. My name is Abe Hicks, joined by my main man, Dylan Kearns. We are back better than ever. Postseason baseball is upon us. We are in the thick of it currently with the division series starting today. First pitch, I believe it is the Astros and Minnesota, right? Is that right? Correct, Dylan?
First game, Rangers-Orioles 103.
Rangers-Orioles. Okay, thank you for correcting me. But yeah, we're going to get right into this. We're going to break down our division series winners, our World Series matchups, and our World Series winners. So thank you for tuning in with us, whether you're listening through Spotify, YouTube, whatever it is. Thank you for all the support. Dylan, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I was excited for the wild card round. I was kind of disappointed that all the teams swept, but hey, That's baseball for you. It's weird that all teams were able to do that, but the Rays, what baffled me about the Rays is they went 33 postseason innings, consecutive innings without scoring a run.
Wild.
I mean, the bats disappeared. I was there covering the game, the 15-inning walk-off Oscar Gonzalez last year, and then they didn't score since the 6th inning of game 1 of last year's AL wildcard series. And then this year they get skunked in the first game. The second game, their bats don't come alive till late, and even then they only put up a run. So it's like the Rays offense kind of fell apart down the stretch, and that's disappointing to see. But in terms of the wild card, I thought that was definitely one to keep an eye on. And then, of course, the Blue Jays couldn't get timely hits and ran themselves out of a couple of things.
Yep. As we see time and time again, year after year, postseason baseball is all about pitching, defense, and timely hitting. Usually the teams that can get those timely hits, usually they make it pretty far in the playoffs. And speaking of timely hits, man, the Phillies definitely put on a show against the Marlins with a bunch of timely hits that they had. And now they match up against the Braves who are arguably the best team in baseball all year. They've just been steamrolling over teams. But this is going to be a tough matchup for the Braves just because the Phillies inside the division know them pretty well. The Phillies feels like they're trying to make it back to the World Series. They feel like there is still some more meat left on the bone. Dylan, what is your synopsis of how this Phillies and Braves series is going to go down?
Yeah, you said arguably. I don't know if I'd say arguably. I'm pretty sure the most people, when they look at Major League Baseball this year, the Braves were the best team. There's no doubt about it. But one thing that I look at when I look at this series, Braves, Phillies, you have Charlie Morton, who's injured, right? So that's a big piece of your rotation that's out right now. Max Fried's got the blister. Who knows how that can go? You know, like if you got a blister injury, everyone laughs when you hit the IL with a blister, but that as a pitcher is huge. And you have that going into the postseason. He says it's doing better, but that's still definitely something to keep an eye on. So 1 through 3, you got Strider. You know he's going to strike out batters. You got Fried. If he's right, he's good. But if Fried has a bad start, then what? You're left with Elder, one of your guys that you got throwing that's younger in the rotation. Kyle Wright's velocity's not up. He's in the bullpen right now. So it's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fog behind the first two starters. I think if Fried's off his game, Philly could take this series because they got some dogs in their rotation too. We saw Nola go out there and shove. Only got 3 strikeouts. I need you to get 4 for me, Nola, but you couldn't do it. 7 innings, 3 Ks with a crowd behind you. You couldn't do more, but okay. You got Nola, you got Wheeler, you got the offense with timely hitting. Bryson Stott stepped up all year long, and that showed with his big home run left to go ahead and clinch that. But I think this is going to be a phenomenal series. I originally picked the Braves. I got them going all the way. We'll get into that later. But if the Braves don't get out of this round, it's definitely going to feel like the song by Morgan Wallen about the 98 Braves. It might be switched to the 20. They came close, but close doesn't cut.
Yeah. Man, speaking of, you mentioned that Bryson Stott home run, just how electric that was. And I feel like this is going to be a long series. This whole series is going to be electric. I can just only imagine if Philly can steal a game in Atlanta, I think that can go a long way for them. But you can make of this as you will. You know, the Braves are 8-5 against the Phillies this year, so they've had their number. But once again, this is postseason baseball, so honestly, this shouldn't even matter. But I believe that the Braves, that they're on a mission this year. Remember, they got upset by the Phillies last year in the playoffs. They knocked them out when Atlanta was arguably the best team in baseball, and they got knocked out. So I still think in the back of the Braves' mind, they haven't forgot about that. And remember, Brian Snicker, I think he's taken a different approach this year, especially towards the end of the year. He decided not to sit his starters at the end of the season when they already had the number one seed locked up. I think this Braves team is different. Their mentality is different. Last year they came out really flat. And you can blame that on the starters getting rested. But I truly think the Braves have something to prove. Matt Olson had a great season. Ronald Acuna, I mean, 2 MVP candidates in that lineup. I think this is going to be a long series, but Braves, they pull it out.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a good one. I'm excited for it, but I'm more excited about the NL West battle.
Yes. Speaking of, we're going to get into that next. The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Who at the beginning of the season thought the Diamondbacks would be here with the surgence of Corbin Carroll, Alex Thomas, you name it. This is the battle of the NL West. Dylan, who you got here?
I got the Arizona Diamondbacks. I know they're a young team. I know that you mentioned some of the things already, what you need to win in the postseason: pitching, defense, timely hitting, all that stuff like that. But I'm going to throw another one out there. And maybe I'm burying my own point by saying this, but I think one more that you got to consider, at least when you look at it from a whole, is the ability. You got to look at base running as well.
Mm-hmm.
Look at base running, especially this year with what you've seen so far throughout the course of the season. You have to have good base running. You got bigger bases. Corbin Carroll can swipe a few. You got some other people on that team. But not only that, I look at Arizona, and I bring up the same point that I made against the Braves when I make it against the Dodgers. And there has been proof in Dave Roberts' method that goes on throughout the course of time. And I'll take you through that.
We are on the same wavelength. Keep going.
You look at the Los Angeles Dodgers right now going into this series. Everyone thinks, okay, NL West, they're doing their thing, they're getting wins. I understand that. You look at their rotation. You lose Julio Urias, don't want to get into that. You lose Walker Buehler before the season starts. You have Clayton Kershaw, a rookie Bobby Miller, and then after that, it's going to be Dave Roberts, who's going to go with his little let's play a little funky mix and match type thing that he's tried many postseasons before and got bitten right in the ass. Remember, he started Blake Trinan and then brought Urias out of the bullpen a year. Urias had 10 plus wins as a starter. He tries to get cute in big moments. I don't think it's going to pay off well. And the good news about the Diamondbacks on their side, they didn't have to play game 3, which saved them Merrill Kelly. They get Merrill Kelly 2 days more rest for Zach Gallen. Gallen will be back for game 3, which means he could have some sort of role if they get to game 5. They got Kelly, they got Gallen, they got their 2. I think this is going to be a better series than it is. And you look at the Dodgers, couple veterans on that team that I don't really trust. Jason Hayward might have to there's some James Outman is a rookie. There is a lot of uncertainty. I know there's playoff players on that team with Chris Taylor and Kike Hernandez, guys that have proved it, but it's still very cloudy on their side as well. I don't think that they can withstand a 5-game series, let alone a 7-game.
Boom. I'm right there with you. And I think about it like this, Dylan. We've seen I would say past 10 years, every year there's usually an upset with the lower seed beating a higher seed. And I think it's the Diamondbacks. I think that upset's coming from the Diamondbacks to knock off the Dodgers. Like you said, Dave Roberts has been questionable in the postseason. Obviously in 2020 they won the World Series, but other than that, I mean, there's been more than a few years where they're expected to go deep into the postseason. Boom, knocked out of the division series. D-backs, they know the Dodgers really well. I mean, that lineup is fast. They play fast. They're going to steal some bases. They're going to create pressure, put pressure on the Dodgers, and I think that bodes well in the postseason. I really like Corbin Carroll. I mean, he showed up big time in the wild card series. I really like Ketel Marte. I mean, Alex Thomas, you name it, and Merrill Kelly. They still got their a lot of their horses ready to go for this series. Oh man, I'm really liking the Diamondbacks here. I think they pull off the upset and make it to the conference championship.
I look at two more things in this series. The Diamondbacks bullpen looked really good against Milwaukee.
Yes. Boom. Just shut down.
Zach Gallen didn't have his A stuff. He kind of fought through it, got through 5 innings, and then the bullpen came in and closed it out. And the same thing happened with the second start. It was really good what I've seen from Arizona from there. But one more note, 2020 World Series with the Dodgers. Who did he have starting those games? Kershaw, Buehler, Urias, Gonsolin.
Yeah. He had the
win
guys.
with that.
He had the workhorses. There's not a lot of mixing and matching you have to do when you got those guys on the mound.
If okay, I'll say this right now. If Merrill Kelly can steal a win against Kershaw tonight, Dodgers are cooked.
Oof. You're spot on. I agree with you. I also think the Diamondbacks, I think they have no pressure, right? I mean, they weren't expected to be in the postseason. Maybe they expected to, but nobody else in baseball expected them to. I mean, they're coming in on the road. They played in Dodger Stadium a bunch of times this year. There's just no pressure with them. I feel like they're going to play loose. Like I said, play fast, create pressure on the base paths, and pull off the upset.
They really remind me of the 2015 Royals team.
Oh, that's a good comp.
Couple veterans on the roster. They don't have the
That's
bullpen
a great comp.
But they got the speed. They got the players with timely hits. I really like them. I think they remind me of 15 Royals, where they're just playing with house money.
I like that. I like that. That's a great comparison. Dylan, pulling out some money comparisons. Man, I didn't think about that. All right, moving from the NL to the AL. Minnesota Twins won their first series in 20 years, mainly because they didn't see the Yankees this postseason. Sorry, Twins fans. You didn't get to see the Yankees this postseason, but instead you saw now I'm blanking. Who'd they play? No, the Blue Jays. Absolutely, shout out the Blue Jays. And now you have a big test against the Houston Astros. Fans leaving Target Field after their win saying, hey, bring on the Astros. Let's go. Let's beat the Astros. Well, you're getting what you asked for. You're playing the Houston Astros. Dylan, what do you make of this series?
I just want to touch one more thing on Minnesota. You know what they've done so far throughout this run? They are doing this without Byron Buxton and without Joey Gallo. And you could argue if both of them are in the lineup, they don't win that series.
Wow.
Byron Buxton, you went on a tangent calling him one of the top players in baseball. I shut you down.
That was a year ago.
But it was. And Gallo's swing and miss. But they're getting production out of everybody. Edward Julien might be the most underrated second baseman in baseball. That guy is a leadoff hitter. He puts the ball in play. He plays well. And once again, it's the veteran experience of that team. They got good pitching staff. They got Pablo Lopez out there shoving. They got Sonny Gray. They got more behind him. I mean, there's a lot to like about this Minnesota Twins team. And I didn't expect them to get out, but Royce Lewis is playing like a first-round pick.
Oh, man. Like a number 1 overall pick.
Yes, he is. And that's what you need. And one thing going into this series, you mentioned that going into the Astros series, I want to see how Carlos Correa does against his old team.
Yeah. Yeah, man, me too.
Make your money, go out there and beat their ass.
That's a good one, man. I definitely think Carlos Correa is going to have a point to prove. Man, that's something I did not think about going into this. Wow, that is a good one. Well, I think if Minnesota wants to win this series, they got to steal one on the road. They have to. If not, I think it's all Astros. I like what the Twins are doing. That lineup has been money recently. I'm a little worried about that. They're pitching a little bit, and here's why I say that. Got the game 1, they're opening with Bailey Ober against Justin Verlander, who obviously has a lot of experience. Yes, this is not Cy Young prime Justin Verlander, but he still is pretty good in the postseason in Houston, where he's comfortable. And probably in game 2, Joe Ryan against Framber Valdez. And I also like that the Astros lineup a lot better than the Twins right now. And I say that because I trust them to come up with timely clutch hits. This team has been here before in this situation many times for years. Playoff baseball does not phase this franchise, and I don't expect it to phase them this go around against the Twins.
You look at what they needed to do to end the year, the Astros, right? The little AL West division race.
Yeah.
They were the most comfortable team in the world.
Just
The
so
Rangers
comfortable.
had a 162-day lead of the division. Like that was their division. They got the West. They kept running with everything they're doing. Seattle had a little run. Everyone was in play the final 2 series of the season. What did the Astros do? That's fine. We'll just go play baseball. You know, it matters. So we'll treat it like a postseason game. We'll kick some ass and we'll enjoy our little AL wildcard break because we're going to win that division for the 6th year in a row. It doesn't matter. They go out there, they play baseball, they win baseball games late, and they're a scary team to face in the playoffs.
Yes.
And to say bring on the Astros when you won your first series in 18 years has got to be the most asinine statement I ever heard in my life. You're going to Minute Maid Ballpark with that short porch, and Bregman and Altuve are going to hit you out, walk off the mound looking like Chapman.
Spot on. You're spot on. So I guess we both got the Astros here.
Yes. I mean, Minnesota, I hope that they can make it a 5-game series. I just don't see it. I don't see it. They have to get good starts. The one thing, you mentioned the pitching matchups early. Bailey Ober and Joe Ryan going with those two. It goes back to this. If they can steal a game with those two, they'll have Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray at home.
Exactly. Yes.
So the Astros have to win these 2 games because then I think they could probably win one. I think it's a 3-1 series.
Yeah,
Astros
I agree.
The first 2, they take 1 in Minnesota.
I agree. All right, moving on to our final division series. We have the Baltimore Orioles, your AL East champions, against the Texas Rangers. How does this play out for you?
You know, I'm excited. I like when new teams make the playoffs. And I know they're not new, but it's like, coming into the year, did you think the Orioles and Rangers would be one of them is the second best team in the AL at the end of the year. One of them will be in the American League Championship Series. And that is a crazy thing to believe. But Max Scherzer left off the ALDS roster. That was just announced. So they're not going to have Max Scherzer on that team. But I mean, you look at the Rangers and the Orioles. I don't know what to make of the Orioles. I haven't watched a lot of their games. All I know is that they win games and they base run too. Mateo, that kid can fly.
Yeah.
But Rutschman gets hits. Gunnar Henderson is young. He's a good ball player. I don't know about their pitching. Like, the names don't really stand out.
They're without Felix Bautista.
Yeah, that closer could be a factor. I do like the Rangers bullpen in this one and Bruce Bochy's playoff experience. So I think that'll make it a 5-game series. But I think this might be the best series outside of Phillies Braves that we have in the division series. But if I have to make a pick, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles.
Baltimore Orioles. Okay. Now, we all know the energy there in the DMV is going to be rocking. Orioles, like I said, AL East champions for the first time, being in this situation after years of being terrible. I'm very happy for the Orioles. I just don't think it's their time yet. You mentioned a little bit about experience. This is a inexperienced postseason team going up against a Rangers team that has quite the postseason experience with manager Bruce Bochy. Let's not forget another guy who has a lot of postseason experience, Nathan Eovaldi, who shoved in the wild card series, who has been amazing in his postseason history. Corey Seager, who was a World Series MVP. I like what the Rangers have to offer. Just imagine if Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom was on this roster, man. This team would be unstoppable. But I like the experience that the Rangers currently have. And, I think it means a lot. I think the Orioles might feel a little pressure playing in front of that home crowd, a lot of energy. I think the Rangers got this series. I don't think it'll be a long series, but I think the Rangers pull it out in 6 or in 5.
Okay. I don't hate it. Like I said, I think this is a 5-game series, but I do like the Rangers bullpen a little bit better. But something tells me it's going to be one of those weird years for Baltimore.
All right, so you're big on Baltimore. Okay, so if I am correct, your conference series, you got the Braves Diamondbacks, Houston, and Baltimore. And I
Yeah.
have Braves, Diamondbacks, Houston, and Texas. Based off
Yes.
that, who do you got going to the World Series, and who is your World Series winner?
Now, my championship series was also what I picked before the postseason started.
Okay.
I'll go through it. I had the Blue Jays over the Twins. That didn't happen. I had the Rays over the Rangers. That didn't happen. But other than that, I was perfect in the NL. I picked the Arizona and Philly.
Really?
And I got, so going into this, yes, Houston versus Baltimore, Arizona versus Atlanta. I told you something. I think the Braves, you need a lot of good things to happen in a year
Yeah.
that you win a World Series. And hitting the home run record, Ronald Acuna's season, they got the NL MVP on their roster. I question Max Fried. He's got to get through that start and Strider, and maybe they can get Morton back for the CS.
Mhm.
But I think a 7-game series bodes more well for an Atlanta team than it does Arizona. So I'm going with the Braves. I think they can slug their way and beat up a team that maybe has a hot bullpen right now, but I don't trust it down the stretch. So I got the Braves going to the World Series, and how can you not pick against the Astros? I got them beating the Baltimore Orioles. They're gonna get a taste of Dusty in their mouth, and they're gonna get their ass kicked. So it'll be Braves, Astros, a rematch of that World Series, and it will go right back to the Atlanta Braves.
Okay. Got the Braves winning for the second time in 3 years. All right, I like that. All right, so I got the Braves just like you. I got the Braves beating the Diamondbacks. Just don't think it's the Diamondbacks' time yet. Braves are, been amazing this year. They are on a mission, a lot more meat left on that bone, and they're going to finish the kill. And then in the AL, I think the Rangers, knowing that they blew the division, like you said, holding it for 162 days. I think the Rangers get back on the Astros 7-game series. I think the Rangers pull it out. Then my World Series matchup between the Rangers and the Braves. I do like, man, now that I'm thinking about it, Rangers will most likely have Scherzer back, but I don't know. Like I said, the Braves are on a mission this year. I love that they have, 2 MVP candidates. A lot of those guys from the World Series team, they still have on that roster. Um, I like the Braves beating the Texas Rangers in 6 games.
Does Eddie Rosario return to 2021?
Ooh,
There we go.
that's what
Steady
I'm
Eddie.
saying. And think about this: there's going to be somebody in this World Series or in this postseason that, wow, where did this guy come from?
Travis
Like
just
guy keeper
Howard,
high.
David Freese,
Exactly.
all that.
There's going to be somebody like that. You already know. That's just how baseball works. That's
I
just
want to
how
bring up
baseball works.
two more things before we close. I want to say one thing. I want you to decide what you think the best CS matchups would be in terms of entertainment, and then 2 World Series teams that you would like strictly for the story, not for the ratings. Because right now, if I were to pick, my NLCS would be Dodgers Braves. That's a rivalry. That's a
Oh,
lot going on there. And then ALCS, I like your Rangers Astros because that was the
yeah.
division race all year. There's a lot of chomp in there. That could be something close. So
Yeah.
Braves, Dodgers. Then you could have a Dodgers Astros rematch. You could have a Dodgers, or rather a Braves Astros rematch. There's a lot there, but then you also got the story with the Rangers.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. If you story wise, I definitely think uh even the Orioles, just about a team who's been in baseball poverty for the past 5 years. If they were able to make it to the World Series, I mean, man, that would be a fantastic story.
I
Fantastic
think,
story.
yeah, I think looking at, I mean, they were a 1 seed. I think Orioles Twins would definitely be something like that. I think the Twins and Diamondbacks would be just, I mean, the ratings would suck.
Yeah,
No one would
yeah,
watch the World
nobody.
Series.
Yeah.
But I think Twins Diamondbacks, you're sitting there at the end of the year and you're like, wow, these two really came out of nowhere and
Yeah.
they played pretty well. So
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun World Series because the Twins could win one.
They could. They could. Wow, that would be insane to think about. But yeah, the Twins could definitely win one. But yeah, that's all we have for you today. Thank you all who would listen. Make sure to follow us on our social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, even Twitter. Come check us out. We got more content coming this postseason. Enjoy watching the division series this weekend, and we'll be back with you before the World Series. Thank you all for tuning in. Peace out.